Hi, welcome to Bondage Church, and I'm Mark. I'm here in shackles and chains, locked in a cell of my own choice, and here to tell you some thoughts that have come to me. Now, a few minutes ago, I actually got out of being confined in a sleep sack and it's like a coffin case. It's like a mummy case, very rigid. And I was confined in there for about 2 hours. And while there, I was able to have a lot of different thoughts. Being able to be confined like that allows my mind to just focus on certain things. I don't have the outside the world to think about. Just blackness and not being able to move at all. And it allows my brain to start to focus on things and to meditate. And so I want to talk about religion today. At the beginning of the credits of this program, it says that religion is bondage, and it is. We're going to talk about traditional religion and how it is bondage. It should be quite obvious how it is. Religion started a long time ago. It didn't. It started. In fact, the original gods of religion were female gods. It was much later they started having male gods. But the idea of religion was the political and religious part of life. It was all combined together. It was a way of controlling society and making the rules and laws in order to have people follow. Then there would be leaders, and these would be religious leaders, and they would follow these rules and these laws. And religion has developed over the years, but religion is a means of control. So the idea of a God, this is someone who is invisible, who watches you all the time. Let's think about when you're growing up, those who believed in Santa Claus when they were little. There was a song about Santa Claus. He knows when you're sleepy, he knows when you're awake. So he knows when you're bad or good, so be good for goodness sake. So that was kind of a way to have parents control their kids, wasn't it? There's this Santa Claus is watching you. But religion is really the same thing. God is watching you. He's watching you when you pray. He's watching you when you're walking around. He watches you when you go to the refrigerator. He's watching you when you're in the bathroom. The idea that you're always being watched by this God. 1984 had the book 1984. If you ever read that by George Orwell, talked about a totalitarian government where Big Brother was watching all the time with cameras. And that kept you in line. So they did an experiment a few years ago with children. They, first of all, they put some cookies in the middle of the room, and they told the children, don't touch or eat those cookies. Then they left the room. What do you think happened? The cookies got eaten. That's what happened. They did this test several times. Then they did another test. They had they put a chair on the side, and they had someone in the room watching who was an adult. And they said, don't eat the cookies. This adult is in the room to watch you not eat the cookies. What do you think happened? Of course, they didn't eat the cookies. That's pretty obvious. Next, they put the chair in the room with another. These are all different groups of kids, of course. They put the chair in the room and said, there's a fairy who's invisible sitting in that chair. And this fairy is watching you. There's cookies in the room, and if you take a cookie, she's watching, and she'll report it. So you better not take a cookie. Then they left the room and watched. And the children looked at that empty chair. They weren't even looking at the cookies. They were watching the empty chair. And they're behaving. None of the children went and took a cookie. So this is what religion does with an invisible God. They've invented something where people think there's a camera on them all the time, like George Orwell's 1984. It's watching. Big Brother is watching. In this case, God is watching you, or Santa Claus is watching you. And if you do anything wrong, he knows. And then you go repent. You better repent of that sin. And in order to repent, go to the person above you, the bishop or whoever it might be in that particular religion, and confess it. Then he'll know. So it's a means of controlling. And then they set up the different laws and ordinances and things that you're supposed to do within that religion, and you follow those laws because someone is watching you every minute, every second, everything you think. He knows your thoughts, right? Is that the way anyway? Isn't that a good way to control people? Tell them that there's someone who can read their thoughts, who's watching them every second of the day, all of the time. It's a means of control. It's a means of bondage. I mean, good heavens, if you're being watched every second of the day, with everything you do, God's going to see if you pick your nose. God's going to see if you masturbate. God's going to see whatever you're doing. You look at porn, God's going to see it. And he's going to punish you if you do what's wrong. But if you do what's good, he's going to reward you. And so then there's this reward for being good and punishment for being bad. So if you follow what God says and what the leaders of this church tell you God is saying, then you're going to get rewarded in heaven later on. Sometime in the future, you're going to get rewarded. If you don't do what's right and aren't good, then you won't be rewarded, and you're going to go to a bad place after you die. And it might not be that bad things will happen now, but somewhere, sometime in the future, bad things will happen to you if you don't toe the line. Wouldn't it be better to be good just because that's the right thing to do for humanity? Isn't it really a juvenile thing for people to be good people? Because if they're not good, they're going to get punished, and if they're good, they're going to get rewarded. If that's the only reason why people are good, then people aren't good. If that's what it takes for people to do good things, to be humanitarians, to help other people, if that's what the motivation is to be a good person, then they're really juvenile. I think that's wrong. Don't be a good person because someone's secretly watching you. Be a good person because this is what we should be doing for humanity. It makes me wonder if we as a species, are we as a species just that self-centered? I know as a species we're pretty self-centered, but are we that bad? Are we that bad that we need to have create an invisible camera that's watching us all the time, someone there watching all the time to make sure we're good, and telling us this juvenile thing that we've got to be good all the time or else you don't get the reward? It's time that humanity grows up. That's my thought about it. Can we be a little more mature, please? I'm saying that while I'm here in chains. But I'm freer than most people because I'm free in my thoughts, and I'm free And I'm allowing myself to do what I want to do. I've rejected the idea that someone's watching me all of the time. And I've rejected the idea that the only reason to be good is because you can get some reward in the future. That's my thoughts. Help humanity, please. We need it. Help all life. Thanks.